This top is such a quick and easy sewing project, plus it's quite suitable for scrap fabrics. Let me show you how to make it. This is a beginner-friendly sewing project and it's pretty quick to make. I would say 2 to 3 hours, not more. This top has 4 panels at the front that are gathered on a tie. However, you can slightly adjust the front panels by making them more or less gathered if you want more coverage. From the back, this top is rather simple. All the fun is going on the front. I'm going to use the Sylvie top pattern, which you can find in our online or Etsy store. The links are down in the description. It comes in A0 and US letter A4 formats, although this time I would recommend to use the regular printer because there are only a few pages to glue together. Speaking about the strap, if you can, it is better to cut it on straight grain, but if it takes too much fabric, cut it cross grain. It's not that big of a deal. I will be using very light silk fabric, but feel free to use heavier fabrics such as medium weight cottons, viscose, or this floral one is polyester. Also, as an idea, you can make this top from 2 different fabrics and make it reversible. Technically, this pattern is made for woven fabrics, but practically you can use jersey fabrics as well. But then you might want to pick one size smaller than you normally would. You will need a matching thread, and as a design idea, or if you don't like making straps, you can use a ready-made strap or a rope. This time I will only use a sewing machine and there will be no need for a serger or neatening stitches at all. Now we are ready to cut out the pattern details. Here I am also cutting the Sylvie skirt to make a cord set, so please don't be confused what are these big panels. When it comes to pattern layout on the fabric, my #1 tip is to start by placing the largest details first and then find free spots for the smaller details. That's why I am starting with the skirt first. Don't forget to mark the notches. It will help us to match the details later. I usually make a small cut in the seam allowance, but you can also use a fabric marker or a soap. Lay the back panels with the right sides facing each other. Pin the upper edge. Stitch 1 cm apart from the edge. Understitch the inside layer of the back panel. In other words, make a stitch around 1 mm apart from the previously made seam by stitching together the inside back panel and the seam allowance. You can work from the wrong side to make sure that you are stitching down the seam allowance. However, I prefer to work from the right side because then I find it easier to control the distance from the previously made seam. Make a few cuts in the seam allowance to release the fabric. Be very careful not to cut in the stitch and don't cut in the back panels themselves. This will help us to avoid bulking later when we will press the seam. Fold the back panels with the wrong sides together and press the upper edge in a way that you can see 1 mm from the outside back panels layer. Lay the according front panels with the right sides facing each other. Since I cut them on the folded fabric, they were already together. Pin the upper and lower edges. Make a stitch 1 cm apart from the edges. Do the step with all front panels. Turn all front panels from the inside out. Press the edges by pushing the previously made stitch as close to the edge as possible. I usually use my fingers to slide the seam and then press right away. This way we can get nice and sharp edges. Measure 1 cm from the center edge where the tunnel goes. Make sure both layers are evenly together. Fold and press. Somehow my fabric doesn't want to keep the pressed shape, that's why I am cooling it down with the plank, otherwise it is trying to go back and be flat. Then fold again 1 cm of this edge and press. This will be the tunnel where the strap will go through. Pin the folded edge. As you can see, I have an annoying corner of the seam allowance. I promise I have edited the seam allowances in the final pattern and you shouldn't have it. However, because this edge is going almost in bias, you still might get the excess corner. If so, carefully trim off a bit of it and then try to fold it in and press in a way it hides inside the tunnel. Pin it, and when you are sewing, make sure it stays there. Repeat that step with all 4 front panels and make a stitch 1 cm apart from the folded edge. Here the strap will go through. Do the step for all 4 panels. Press the tunnel area flat. Bring attention to the markings on the side seam of the back panel. The upper and lower front panels are covering each other, so make sure that the upper edge of the lower panel goes to the highest notch and the lower edge of the upper panel goes to the lowest notch. It doesn't matter which front panel goes above, just make sure that they are symmetrical on both side seams. The upper edge of the upper front panel goes exactly at the back panel's sharply pressed edge, while the lower edge of the lower front panel goes 1 cm above the back panel's bottom edge because there's a seam allowance. Fold the inside back panel over the front panels. Pin the side seams by matching the notches with the front panels and outside back panel. Make a stitch 1 cm apart from the edge. To get a smoother result, trim off the corners. Just be very careful not to cut in the stitch and in the back and front panels themselves. Just cut off the seam allowances. Now flip the front panels from the inside out and press the side seams. Flip the front panels back inside the back panels, so the right sides of the back panels are facing the front panels. It should look like a pillow. Pin the bottom edge of the back panels. Stitch starting from one side seam to the middle, then stop, end the stitch, leave an opening around 4 cm wide and start a new stitch going to the other side seam. Make a stitch 1 cm apart from the edge. Take the front panels and flip them towards outside through the opening you left at the bottom edge. I left ridiculously tiny opening, but somehow I managed. If it's also your case, just be very careful not to break the stitch and take your time. Press the bottom edge by trying to push the seam as close to the edge as possible, then it will be nice and sharp. I also press the opening in a way it looks the same as the stitched area. Take the strap detail and fold it on half. Stitch 1 cm apart from the row and also from the folded edge, basically stitch at the very middle. And right away, let's trim off 7 mm of the seam allowance. There are multiple ways how to do it, but my personal favorite is to use a security pin. I put this pin at the one end of the strap and then I slide it through the strap, and in this way I will flip the strap from the inside out. For me, usually the beginning is the toughest part, but once you get through a few centimeters, then it goes pretty smoothly. Press the strap and again try to make sure that the stitch is staying exactly at the edge of the strap. Then the strap will look so perfect. Use a security pin again and put it at one end of the strap. You have two options here. You can either put the strap in this direction, or you can put the strap through upper panel at one side, then cross at the middle and go through the lower panel at the opposite side. I think both options look equally good, but I chose the option that is crossing at the middle. So guide the security pin through the tunnel of the front panels. The irony of slippery fabrics is that in some directions they don't slide at all. That's why I am using pliers at some moments. As you know, both endings of the strap have raw edges. That's why I am tying knots. This way I will be sure that the stitch will not unravel, and I also really like how these knots are looking design-wise. You can do a quick try-on just to make sure that everything fits, and then at the very end don't forget to close the opening. I will be using an invisible hand stitch to connect both edges of the back panels. Be careful not to pull the thread too tightly, because then the edge will start to look gathered. Give the final press and you have finished. Let me know in the comments what color you have chosen for this top, and subscribe to our channel for more sewing and knitting tutorials. See you next time. Bye!